Ever feel like you're busy all day but not moving forward? That happens when your business loses focus from the important things that actually help you scale. I'm Adam Sands, CEO of the Roofing Business Partner. In this video, I'll share how setting up weekly KPIs and traction meetings can bring back your focus, and I'll tell you how losing that rhythm almost cost us big.
Traction is something you set up your KPIs. This was the template that I used to roll around with people. You can see here, 2022. So then you have your accountability numbers here. So how this is kind of laid out is like, what is the measurable that maybe one person could have 2, 3, generally not more than 3, but a couple measurables that they're responsible for. And then you put who's responsible for them right here. And what is the goal every week for that thing? And then you go across the board, and every week you have a meeting at the same time. It's called a level 10 meeting, which starts on time. It goes from good news, customer employee highlights, core values, ROC review, accountability numbers, issues, identify, discuss, solve, and then to-do list and end at the same time every time. And so they would go through these numbers, and then you would establish the issues. I've deleted it. That's why there's some highlighting here. But you have a date, you'd identify the issue, discuss, and you're identifying the root cause of the issue, discuss and solve, give it to to-do list. Somebody has to own it and come back next week with it solved. And then you have your ROCs. ROCs are like the first things first, the big thing that you focus on. This is just a template, but making it a little bit more visually appealing and linking it to a HubSpot dashboard. This is part of our RevOps consulting program, but getting this in here so then you can start reviewing these numbers every week with your team and then trying to have an impact on them. So what happens when you don't have it is that you lose focus. You start to focus on the problem of the day because there is no clear ROC that's driving towards your goal for the year or your goal for the quarter. So your ROCs are done on a quarterly basis. And so then it becomes very easy to become distracted by the problem of the day or the week or the month, and you don't put the first things first. And I feel that because what happened with us is we did this big revolution with our project management. That was the ROC, was to get ClickUp off the ground. So we sacrificed traction during that period because it was a bunch of work. So it was like, okay, then we're going to get back to it. Then we did that. Then our director of operations resigned. He had a business he was working with his wife and other reasons. So then he quit. Now we had to install a new director of operations. And I can feel it. I can feel that we've lost these weekly accountabilities where it's like, come hell or high water, your number has to be this. And what happens after a while is everybody gets too busy. And then you're too busy to implement traction because you're too busy not putting the first things first. And you can get lost and focused on the little details. And you can lose the big momentum causing projects. This is like identifying constraints and removing them. Functionally, what it looks like is when people miss their accountability number, you have to ask why. Why did we miss that number? And that's going to be an issue. And we have to dig into the root cause of the issue and get back to, okay, let's discuss how we're going to solve it, come up with a solution and assign that as a to-do list. But then when you get into the cycle of not having it, and I'll tell you this is why you never want to let go of it. If I could go back, I would not have let go of it. But you start to get to this place where now you're too busy doing the things that it becomes impossible, not impossible, but it becomes very difficult to get back to focusing on ROCs because now it's like you get obsessed with solving these little itty bitty issues. If you don't get into the habit of explaining your missed issue, your missed number, and then it just becomes like everything's a problem. And if everything's a problem, nothing's a problem. If everything's important, nothing's important. So I want to use this opportunity to say, learn from my mistake. Failure is the most information-rich data stream that you can ask for. You don't learn a lot from success. It's kind of like when a sales guy sells a roof without following the process. He skips a step and then now he says, oh, that step was unnecessary because I got a sale without it. And that's the worst thing that can happen to a sales guy because then they'll stop following the process. And now that reminds me of a very interesting story about a client that we worked with a little over a year ago. We sold them a 2x sumo quote build, guaranteed to double their close rate. And we did, and they did a fantastic job. And they were the example that I used for a long time. I used to say, look at this company. They did this, and then they got this outcome. You should do this same thing to get this same outcome. I mean, they annotated 70% of their photos. We role played every week. Like this whole 2X program was back when I could basically be a fractional sales manager for your company. And we would do role plays and we would do objection handling and we would do presentation training and all that kind of stuff with our clients on the premise that it would guarantee your double of a close rate. And they killed it. And these two guys, like they were my examples, like my apt pupils that I would use to like show other companies what to do. You have to constantly remind yourself and remind your team of the best practices of running a business. And if you fall away, you have to get proactive and strategic with how you spend your time and get back